The opening day of Formula 1 for 2025 has come to a close, and with it we can quite positively state that Ferrari are in the ballgame for when it comes to pole position and race wins, after Charles Leclerc topped the opening couple of sessions with a lap time of 1 minute 16.4, with Lewis Hamilton ending up 5th fastest in that second practice session, slowly closing the gap to that of his teammate. And it is even more positive signs, perhaps not for this Sunday, but for the remainder of the next couple of rounds, with regarding the race pace situation of Ferrari, as well as that of Mercedes and Red Bull. They seem exceptionally close on race pace, as we'll be getting into a little bit later. But let's start off with a roundup of the day. So overall, Ferrari has looked very, very quick on a single lap. And throughout the two opening sessions, the team have run a quite loaded rear wing for both drivers for the opening day. Put that into contrast with McLaren, who started off in FP1 with a lower level of loaded wing, and then gradually transition into a higher downforce specification, of course with an eye on the weather situation coming up in the race for Sunday. And of course this is going to have a huge bearing on the overall performance of the cars when it comes to qualifying. Of course, the teams are having to basically optimize the setup around the load levels that they want for the race situation, with it being very much looking like a wet weather race. And with that happening, it then means the teams have to go much higher up on the drag level than they would have wanted to had it been a dry race. And as such, this is going to have a bearing. We're going to see slower lap times as a result, because they're going to be going that much slower in qualifying. But of course, the name of the game is the main race. Now, let's have a talk about this race pace situation, because at the end of testing, it looked very ominous in the favour of McLaren, being exceptionally quicker than that of all of their main rivals, particularly with Lando Norris's stint that he did on day 2, being 0.4 of a second quicker across the opening 2 stints, while on that third and final stint being a second of a lap quicker over that of both the race simulation of Leclerc and George Russell. But that picture has completely changed with regards to Melbourne, and the teams are looking exceptionally close this time, with all the top 4 teams lapping within a couple of tenths of a second on their race pace situation. The teams were basically all lapping within a 1 minute 21.9 or a 1 minute 22.1, so it's exceptionally close no matter what team you're supporting. Now, of course, this is more of an indication of what we can expect in the next couple of rounds, but it's nonetheless an exceptionally good situation to find ourselves in, as of course we're in the final year of this set of technical regulations, and so being that close on race pace is a fantastic piece of news to get. Of course, it's a very small sample size, but all of the teams, they've been doing major fuel loads onto their car, so basically going as close to a race level of fuel that you would, which is of course around the 100 kilogram mark. And through it all, there was quite a few interesting surprises along the way for the likes of the Racing Bull team. They were exceptionally quick in both sessions, I have to say, with both Yuki Tsunoda and Isaac Hadjar, who's been, of course, for me, the pick of the rookies so far this weekend, being very close to Yuki in FP2 and being quicker in FP1. With them finishing up respectively in 4th and 6th in FP2, only around 0.6 of a second behind that of the leading pace-setting team of Ferrari. And of course, we have to also mention the Williams car, and in particular Carlos Sainz, who was pretty much on it from the word go in FP1, but he never got a qualifying sim in FP2 for, from what I've heard, an unknown, unspecified reason. But I think if he'd have managed to do that, he would have probably looked at a top 6 finishing position in FP2. And I think that Williams car is going to surprise a lot of people this season, particularly early on. I think they could be in for a bit of a pleasant surprise in terms of what they're going to be achieving at the beginning of this season, but across the whole season as well. I think they're one of the kind of dark horses where if people are talking about a team winning outside of the top four, I expect them to be potentially one of those teams doing that. But of course, we now turn our attention to qualifying, but also more importantly than that, the race on Sunday. Now, of course, it's going to be wet. So what do I actually think is going to happen with regarding that actual race? Well, I think we're going to see a very interesting and exciting race, to say the least, because most of the rain should hit before the start of the race. And I'm believing from what we know currently, we're going to be starting on intermediates for the start of the race. And it could potentially, maybe by the end, get a little bit dry. Maybe someone will take a chance on some slick tyres, who knows. But I think if it stays wet for what the majority of it should be, we could be looking at a couple of drivers in particular from two different teams coming to the forefront and fighting for the race win alongside that of Lando Norris, because I believe he and that McLaren package are going to be quick no matter the conditions, whether it's dry or wet. But I would say keep an eye on both Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton in the rain. If it is raining and they start anywhere within the top 6, I think they have a huge shout at winning this Grand Prix on Sunday. And for me, they are two of the top 4 drivers ever in the wet in Formula 1, and I expect them to make loads of positions up in the race if it is wet for the majority of it. I would not be surprised to see a 1, 2, 3 in terms of the podium positions of Norris, Verstappen and Hamilton in any given order. We cannot predict what will happen because weather can play havoc with Formula 1 cars. Some teams will get heat into the tyres better than others, and other teams will basically chew up the tyres. So it's going to be really exciting just to see what happens, and I cannot wait for qualifying and the race as well. Alright guys, I'm going to wrap this video up here. Hope you've all enjoyed it. If you have, do leave a like on the video, and if you're new and have enjoyed the content, do hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for future content on the channel. Right, I will catch you all later on.